The battle is the Lord's is the title of our message, taken from 1 Samuel chapter 17, and we shall endeavor to look at the first 11 verses. Is there not a cause? Two thoughts. The Lord saveth not with sword. David was a man whom God now delights to honor, for he is a man after his own heart. So observed well Matthew Henry. After he was anointed, God's providence was with him in the court, and there now we see God's providence with him in the camp, not only to mark him as a great man, but fitted him for the throne which he was designed. In the court, he was only Saul's physician, but in the camp, he was Israel's champion. The battle was fought fairly. Goliath of Gath was beaten, and in the story we observe how Goliath was a great soldier, a noble figure, and how he daringly challenged the armies of Israel. And for David to fight Goliath, it was an unequal battle. He was no match for the man. Goliath was 9 feet, 9 inches tall, a huge man. We say 6 feet, 7 feet is already very tall, but he's 2 feet 9 inches taller, 7 feet and 2 feet more, so higher than this ceiling. Very, very tall person, and what a giant he is for a soldier. What a formidable foe he is to contend with. And he was placed as an adversary to his people, Israel. Can the enemy be defeated? Well, we would see how the battle is the Lord's and how the enemy was defeated, not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of God. When a man is filled with the wisdom of God, even a stone, a little stone in a sling, became a deadly weapon against shield and armor. His shield and his weapon was very heavy, 56 kilogram. His spear, 56 kg, just his weapon, his beam, weaver's beam, So very, very powerful, and he had great armor to protect himself, and he had all that is needed to win any battle. He was unbeatable, as we see. But God gave a glorious victory over the Philistines through a sling and a stone, and that was where Israel began to turn the table against their enemy with a weapon that was an unlikely weapon. With God leading the charge, leading the battle, let His people not be afraid to own His cause. Our first thought, is there not a cause? It was not long ago that the Philistines were soundly beaten, and they were put to the worst before Israel. Had it not be for Saul's rashness, you remember he told them not to eat, He told them to go to the battle without proper army ration to give them the strength they need for battle. And yet they won the battle. The Philistines were defeated. So the point here is that if they had been properly equipped, properly nourished, the victory would have been much more substantial, and you see that the enemy would have been greatly weakened. But in this case, you see them having strength within themselves. They had giants to fight their battle, and their general came out to challenge Israel. Verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shoko, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shoko and Azekah in Phares Damim. How they defied Israel in their armies. They made a descent upon the Israelites' country, as Matthew Henry observed for us, and possessed them. In other words, they have gone in and they have taken parts of Israelite land for their possession, and they are encamped in a place which belonged to Judah. And so here you see the enemy having a foothold upon Israel. Had not God given Israel the land of Canaan for their possession? How is it that the Philistines, the men, the people who are at the coast, are able to fight themselves inland and take possession of the lot that was allotted to the tribe of Judah, to which David belongs. And so here you can see that the Philistine was aggressive, and they came against Israel. Verse 2, and Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. So the battle was set in array. They had their battle formations, both sides, and they are watching each other like hawks and waiting for the first move of the enemy, or waiting to receive the instruction from their commander to begin the battle. Matthew Henry observed, well, he says, the enemies of the church are watchful to take all advantages. They never have greater advantages than when her protectors have provoked God's Spirit and prophets to leave them. Saul mastered his forces and faced them. And here we take notice of that the evil spirit that for the present had left Saul. Nothing was said. And David's help, having given him some relief, now the affairs of the war prevented the return of this temple, that spirit. And you see that David has now returned to Bethlehem. He has left the court. So his assignment to play the harp with Saul was not something that is a permanent one. After this battle, you would see him permanently drafted to become Saul's armor bearer. But before that, he was shuttling to and fro from the father's flock and to go and to the court. Later on, you see also in verse 54 how David had his own tent in the battlefield. That's where he would keep Goliath's armor and his head after he chopped it off. But he was not a soldier with the army. He was back with his family, tending to his father's sheep. Verse 2. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, and there was a valley in between. We see how the Lord will now prepare his people for the battle. It seemed that the army of Israel was superior in number and strength, but the Philistines had a champion, and he began to challenge Israel. Verse 4. There went out the champion out of the army of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span, very tall and big man. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and armed with a coat of mail. So he had a armor, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels. Very heavy, very powerful. And he had greaves of brass upon his head, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And so this was one of the sons of Anak, and he belonged to the race of giants, and well, he was a big man. He was formidable, and his armor also was formidable, very heavy, and so he's like a impregnable fortress. So he was like a moving machine against any who come against him. Verse 7. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And one bearing a shield went before him, and stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me, and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then will ye be our servants and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. And so the challenge was given. for a one-to-one battle. Your champion against ours. And his weapons, his spear was like a weaver's beam, as we were mentioned, 50 over kg, very heavy and very powerful armor and weapon of destruction. And he gave this challenge. He was chosen of the Philistines to be their champion, and he was to come forth to defy the armies of Israel. So he came into the valley and that lay between the two camps, and you can hear his voice shouting against the people of Israel, and he upbraids them with a folly in drawing an army together. Why have ye come to set the battle in array? How dare you oppose the mighty Philistines? Well, that was the rhetoric in which he speaks in order to frighten his enemy. Indeed, there is cause for that, isn't it? Verse 11. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. The terror struck upon Israel. Saul and his army was greatly afraid. Verse 11. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Saul's courage had failed him. If the leader be a coward, the followers should be bold. We found before, when the Spirit of the Lord came upon Saul, none could be more daring nor forward to answer the challenge of Nahash the Ammonite. You remember the first battle? The Spirit of God now had departed from him. And so when he looked at the enemy, look at his size, look at his color, look at his word, hear his words, they became a great threat to him. When we have the Lord leading and guiding us, and we know that He's with us fighting our battle, we can be the bravest of men. And we shall stop here.